Hold up.
Yo, what is going on, guys? It is Foxy98 here, and welcome back to a brand new season of my F1 2016 career mode. If you guys have seen the previous season, you would have known we did it with McLaren Honda, and we came through and we won the Drivers' Championship and finally brought titles back to McLaren Honda. But for this season, we've kicked it up a notch. We signed a contract to go to Mercedes as their second driver. Now, the reason I decided to choose this Mercedes, basically because I achieved the ultimate goal for McLaren is to bring the title back to McLaren. I wanted to go to my favourite team. My favourite team is Mercedes, because my favourite team is only really Mercedes because Lewis Hamilton is my favourite driver in Formula 1. So I thought, because the contract was there, I did the goal that I set for McLaren, so now I want to go and set the goal with Mercedes. Now, the reason I've set the goal for Mercedes is because their credentials, or their targets, are so much harder because they're the fastest team in the game, so they really want you to push week in, week out, and I feel like it's going to be a big challenge for me to really be able to try and push week in, week out. Otherwise, the Mercedes team are going to get unhappy with us and they may even fire us. So, you know, I've really stepped it up a notch in this career mode. So if you do enjoy this one, drop it a like, that'd be absolutely awesome. Subscribe if you're new around here. And thanks ever so much for the support on the journey that I did yesterday, episode 1. I am recording another one very soon and it'll be up hopefully tomorrow for you guys to watch the second part of the journey. But as you saw there, we completed the practice sessions, and unfortunately, because I moved teams to the Mercedes team, my 3,500 resource points that I collected for McLaren do not transfer over to Mercedes. So I literally just wasted so many resource points, and now we've just got to start from the bottom. But luckily, as you can see, the qualifying goal set there, every upgrade that Mercedes have done stack over and they stay on this car. So they've already had two engine upgrades. I think they've had a drag upgrade and a downforce upgrade, which is not too bad, or maybe chassis, I can't remember. But as you can see then, we're coming through into Q1, and as you can see, we managed to comfortably get ourselves through with our one run. The practice session was fine. I've never actually raced on Legend AI in Australia because I didn't do it in the first season. I was on expert because I was learning the game. But into Q2 we go, and as you can see, the intermediate conditions are here. It rained in the second part of qualifying. You can see Romain Grosjean coming across the line there, setting a quick lap. We come through P5, but in the end of Q2, it actually changed. The weather actually went to the to rise. And I was last at this point. I was 16th, the worst in the qualifying session. I had to get myself through on a set of super soft tyres, and we managed to do that comfortably, going in 4th place there in the dry conditions. If I did not set that time, I was going to be starting 16th, and you can see there, I believe that Sebastian Vettel and Felipe Massa both getting knocked out in Q2. Big casualties, again, getting caught up in that wet weather period. But as you can see, we are now into Q3 for what is our flying lap, or our final flying lap here. Opening up the DRS, Fernando Alonso comes through and sets the fastest lap, and it's a return for Fernando Alonso, actually, in this career mode. If you guys don't know, I was the second driver, and I chose Button as my teammate at McLaren, so now Fernando Alonso is back, and after I've now gone to Mercedes as the second driver, Nico Rosberg no longer is in this career mode, so you'll be seeing Alonso and no more Rosberg. If you're a Rosberg fan, do apologise. If you're an Alonso fan, welcome to my career mode, because Alonso will be here. And of course, he's in a McLaren, and obviously, because we've done so much upgrades with McLaren, they're a really quick car, so we need to be wary of them. Now, for the rivalry, you can see we still have Nico Rosberg as our rival, so we literally just have to do 1 or 2 races, and then we'll be fine there. But in the driver's position, we actually go down into the red section, which is well below the team standards, so we definitely need to pick it up in the race. You guys know that I always lose out in qualifying and then blitz it in the race, so hopefully you can do that. But there are the race goals for you guys there on your screens. Let's get into round 1 of this F1 2016 career mode in Australia, and let's kick off the season with Mercedes and try and bring the glory over to Mercedes again.
Say that even a second is an eternity in Formula 1, so going 4 winter months with no racing at all has seemed a very long time indeed. We're back though in Melbourne, home of the Australian Grand Prix since 1996. We go racing today then in the state of Victoria, where the drivers have 16 corners and 3.3 miles to navigate at an average lap speed of around 120 miles an hour. The close proximity of the barriers makes accidents inevitable, and recent history shows us that a safety car is not at all out of the question. I won't be commentating alone today, of course. Nope, I have the honour to share this commentary box with none other than Anthony Davidson. And you and I were talking earlier today about how tight that midfield battle is compared to the last couple of years. Why do you think that is?
Well, I suppose the main reason is simply stability in the regulations. Look at what we had towards the end of the V8 era. In 2012, we had 7 winners in 7 races. We talk about the dominance of Red Bull at that time, but their advantage was rarely more than 2 or 3 tenths of a second. And we've had this current formula now for a couple of years, and that serves to solve any teething troubles with reliability. Let's not forget that these cars are more technical than ever before, so it was always going to take a bit of time for those gaps to come down.
Okay, the run into turn 1 isn't too long, so the pack will be bunched up. Take care.
With that then, let's run through the grid order. It was a good showing from Red Bull in qualifying, and Daniel Ricciardo starts from pole position. And it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Alonso, Button, Kimi Raikkonen, and a Mercedes, Verstappen, Bottas, Haryanto, and Pascal Wehrlein, Vettel, Massa, Sergio Perez, and Grosjean, Gutierrez, Hülkenberg, Carlos Sainz, and Kevin Magnussen, Palmer and Kvyat, Marcus Ericsson, and Felipe Nasser starts from the back of the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Right then, so as you can see, we are on the grid now for the Formula 1 race here in Australia, the start of Season 2 of our career mode. And as you can see, we tend to do things and we start things off with the formation lap, which luckily this time for you guys in Australia, you've seen the whole lap of it because I showed it in the first time we did it. But this time we're not going to be showing it because, of course, who really cares about the formation lap anymore? It's a nice feature to put into the game, but of course it just gets boring after a while once you've done it a few times. But you won't be seeing the full formation lap anyway. But as you can see, we're going to be warming up those tyres and those brakes. But as you can see, we are now on the grid here for this Season 2. We got 5 red lights here at the Australian Grand Prix. And it is lights out, and away we go for the Australian Grand Prix. Season 2 is underway. A good start from ourselves, not the best of starts. Kimi Raikkonen on the left-hand side there with a much better start. We're going to dive the car down the inside here. Jenson Button has to back out of it. Alonso forcing Hamilton really wide indeed. And we make up lots of places up in third place. Fernando Alonso just in front of us, and we're going to be making a diving move. You can see how car has already got some straight line speed. Down the inside of Alonso we go. Alonso holds it round the outside line, but eventually Fernando has to give up the position. Next up on the road is Daniel Ricciardo, the leader of this race at his home Grand Prix on the soft tyres, crucially enough. So we have to get past him as quick as we possibly can, or it could affect our race and it could lead to a Red Bull victory. So we need to start chasing him down. We chuck the car into rich fuel mixture and get ourselves settled in here for the race at the moment. It's going to be a difficult one. Of course, I've never raced on the hard on Legend AI around here because, of course, I did race on Expert when I first started the game, and then I obviously progressively learned how to play the game. So then, of course, I went to Legend in the Russian Grand Prix. So I haven't raced on the hardest difficulties around Australia, Bahrain, China yet. So there'll be interesting races to go around. But as you can see, we're flicking the car through into this second or final sector. We put the car into the left-hander. We put the grass on the... Well, I can't even talk right now. So much craziness going on. Alonso on our inside line there. But we fend him off. And now if I can try and talk normally, Alonso's still there with us. Fernando, a fighty man here, getting his seat back at McLaren. Obviously, he sat out because of his sabbatical, which we took over his place, and he's back in the seat. But coming up to lap 1, like I was trying to say in the final sector then, in the first right-hander, we had some understeer, put 2 wheels on the grass, and Alonso then went alongside us, as you saw there, and that's what I was trying to say. Unfortunately, my words got stuck in my mouth, couldn't say them, and I was just, deformed. But let's get a look at the replay of the start then, because it was a pretty interesting start. So Fernando Alonso definitely got the best of the starts, and that's kind of normal really in Formula 1. Alonso always has amazing starts, and we chuck ourselves past Jenson Button. Alonso forces my teammate Lewis Hamilton extremely wide, and that makes him drop down the order quite a bit. And then we get into the toe of Alonso, but we move out of it, and the straight line speed of our Mercedes. We brake nice and late into turn 3, and then we sort of brake a little bit more, and Alonso thinks he's going to hold it around the outside, so I had to accelerate a little bit more into turn 3 and sort of adjust my braking point to try and officiate the move against Alonso. And as we start pursuing our way now down towards this difficult turn 4 section here, Daniel Ricciardo leads this Grand Prix, of course, like I said before. He's going to be going a long, long way in this first stint, so it's going to be crucial that we can get past Ricciardo at some point. Unfortunately, we didn't get past him in the first lap, but maybe when our tyres start warming up just a little bit more and Daniel's struggling a little bit more, maybe we can get past him. But the Australian crowd are going to be super happy with what they're seeing right now. Their homegrown favourite, Daniel Ricciardo, racing around, and eventually maybe we could be seeing a lot of shoeies going on with the Australian shoeies, because of course that's the tradition in Australia. I never know how it came around. Ricciardo did explain it in one of his interviews, but as you can see, this is when we put the two wheels on the grass, and Alonso fancied her on us, going down the inside line. Alonso tried it, and he stays with us though. He still got great traction. That McLaren Honda definitely doing really well for itself, and we again put two wheels on the grass there, struggling to get these tyres warmed up at the end of the first lap, and Daniel Ricciardo pulls away from that. As you can see him there building a nice comfortable gap from myself, Alonso, Button, Raikkonen, Bottas and Hamilton, and then Max Verstappen following on behind. So an okay-ish first lap. I mean, we started 7th or 6th, I believe it was, and we're up into 2nd, so we can't really complain about that. Moving on to lap 4 of the Grand Prix now, so skipping ahead a couple of laps here, and our pursuit of Daniel Ricciardo is ongoing, but we're beginning to close down that gap that we lost to him. Of course, in this corner that we just went through now on the end of the first lap, we kind of made a bit of a kerfuffle of it, really. But this time we've definitely closed in on Daniel Ricciardo, and we're looking to try and make a move on him. Fernando Alonso still comfortably close behind us, really looking forward to trying to make a move on us, but hopefully we can try and fend off Alonso. But crucially, we've got DRS on Daniel Ricciardo, so that's going to help us pursue against Alonso. It's Alonso versus myself. Alonso's going to have a better slipstream than us. Raikkonen there setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We go down to turn 1 and turn 2. We make a little bit of a mess of turn 2. Going across the curb there, we go a little bit wide. Lose the back end of the car here. Opening up the DRS there. As soon as we opened up that DRS, we just lost the rear of the car, and we luckily managed to get it together. But you can see the top 4 really all starting to push now as we look to try and gain some places. And Daniel Ricciardo there is the man on our hit list, and we just need to keep pushing. But unfortunately, we just can't seem to get past him yet, and it's not working for us. Lap 5 going on to lap 6 of the Grand Prix. We decide to go for an undercut on the drivers behind us. We decide now's our opportunity to try and do something in this Grand Prix. Try and make up some places, or we even try and do something on Ricciardo. But annoyingly, look, Lewis Hamilton is coming to the pits at the same time as us. Hamilton's going to get held up in the pits. We get first service, and you can see it there. A bit of a problem there at Mercedes. Communications obviously went wrong. Luckily, I managed to get first service, but a disaster for my teammate Lewis Hamilton at the start of this season. The fact is that we both got held, or he got held up in the pits. I decided to go in a lap earlier to try and get the undercut on some drivers, and I honestly thought Hamilton would stay out and come in a lap after I did, after my initial pit stop. But unfortunately, he came in the same time as me, and it's affected him badly, and a bit of a problem there at Mercedes. Hopefully, Toto Wolff can give us some explanations into why that happened, but nevertheless, we just need to push onwards now. And I decided to show the entire, this is going to be the entire lap shown for you guys here, so you can just kind of get a feel for me right now. I can see I'm just trying to get used to the car here. So we've got the gap there shown to Kevin Magnussen. Marcus Ericsson is on the super soft tyres behind us, but we're not going to be troubled by Marcus Ericsson. He's in a Sauber, and I believe they're the slowest car on the grid in my career mode. Manor have actually gone quite high up in my career mode. They're actually doing quite well for themselves. But as you can see, we're coming in now down towards, I believe it's this is turn 11 and 12, this section here. So it's all going to be kicking off round here. There's never really any overtakes round turn 11, turn 12. I can't remember who did that. Someone did that, probably Verstappen, because Verstappen's a crazy driver. But we're coming now down towards the this final sector. You can see the gap between me and Magnussen, definitely closing it in. You can see it, not even just looking at the gap, you can see it visually. In fact, it's Magnussen, Palmer, and I believe that's another Sauber, so it's not going to be a Marcus Ericsson, so it's going to be Felipe Nasr involved in all of that. So we're coming down the main straight now. We don't have DRS, but as you can see on the right-hand side of the circuit, you can see everyone coming in for their pit stops, and you can see there is Fernando Alonso that's just come out of the pit lane. So that undercut has worked perfectly because he was right behind us, and now we've built ourselves a little bit of a gap over Alonso, which is kind of critical in this race. But as you can see, we're skipping to a new different camera angle here. We've got Kevin Magnussen going to go for a move on Felipe Nasr. Jolyon Palmer made the move stick earlier, and then Magnussen forces Nasr wide, and we managed to capitalize on that move between Magnussen and Nasr to get past Felipe as quick as we possibly can. Next up is Kevin Magnussen up the road, and we'll make a diving move down the inside here. Lovely zooming camera of myself there, and move completed. Kevin Magnussen eliminated, out of the way. We need to get him done, and now we've got Magnussen and Nasr between me and Fernando Alonso, so a little bit of a buffer coming on here, which is nice. But our pursuit remains against Daniel Ricciardo. We would have lost a little bit of time scrapping with these people. It's Skipping ahead now to the end of the 7th lap of this Grand Prix, coming on to lap 8 of the Grand Prix now, we are getting into pursuit of Jolyon Palmer in the Renault. We chucked my Mercedes car into Rich Mixture. Raikkonen coming out of the pits himself, and we're going to make a super late braking move down the inside of Palmer. Can he give us the space? Oh, that was close indeed between me and Palmer. Super close there. We came from such a long way back to make that move. Really good race. Probably really good race, pretty good move. Probably the best move of the race from myself so far. We came so far back, and fair play to Jolyon Palmer. He gave us the space because this monster of Mercedes is not going to be going slow anyway. But we're skipping ahead now to lap 10 of the Grand Prix, and a couple of problems. Daniel Ricciardo has come into the pits, and he's changed to the super soft tyres, and a virtual safety car has actually come out, so that's interesting. What I was going to say is Ricciardo has pitted for his super soft tyres, unfortunately, so we've lost out on Daniel Ricciardo. Now, I tried to have a look for you guys what happened and where this virtual safety car came from, but honestly, I've got absolutely no idea where this virtual safety car even came from. So I was super confused, but unfortunately as well, Red Bull have performed a very nice strategy here. I believe Max Verstappen started on the super soft, on the soft tyres, the yellow mark tyres that I'm on now, the same as Ricciardo, and now he's come in for super soft tyres, and Red Bull are currently 1 and 2 here in Australia. That's a little bit frustrating for myself. Now, that means that I need to push now, try and catch him. This virtual safety car's ending, so I go back into the delta time, and then I increase my car, get it. You can see there, look, I'm over the delta, but I honestly do not care right now, because there you go, race has ended. So we actually gained a little bit of time. It's a cheat thing that you can do with the virtual safety car, returning to racing speed. Now I've got to try and catch Max Verstappen, but he's on a quicker compounded tyre, so skipping ahead to lap 15 of the Grand Prix, and unfortunately I just wasn't able to catch the Red Bulls. In fact, on this lap here of the Red Bulls, I actually gained over a second on Max Verstappen. The tyres definitely worn off for the Red Bulls, but they were just too far ahead. Daniel Ricciardo comes through and wins his home Grand Prix for Red Bull. So the Australian crowd super ecstatic with that. What a great result for Daniel Ricciardo. Max Verstappen takes 2nd place, our pursuit, and we managed to come home and take 3rd place. So a podium in our first Grand Prix for Mercedes honestly isn't too bad of a result. We probably would have been able to have got higher up the grid. Unfortunately, Australia is just not the best circuit for me, but, you know, hopefully next race in Bahrain, definitely going to be an entertaining one in terms of how I love that track in Bahrain. I love racing around it. Not so much here in Australia, but Daniel Ricciardo, he loves racing around Australia, and he's just gone and absolutely battered everyone. And has gone and taken the win with a very good strategy, actually, going from the softs to the super softs. The super soft tyres wore out for the Red Bulls at the end. Like I said, I gained over a second on Max Verstappen. The gap was 4 seconds at the end of lap 14, and I believe we finished about 2.2 seconds back. So we gained 1.8 seconds in the one lap, but unfortunately we just lost too much time to Max Verstappen when it came to it, and we weren't able to do it. So there we go, champagne flowing. Unfortunately, Daniel Ricciardo's not doing a shoey, which I'm pretty disappointed with. If you don't know what a shoey is, it's an Australian tradition whereby they get the champagne, they pour it in their shoes, and then they drink out of it. So it's a really weird tradition. Ricciardo, like I said, explained it in an interview, but I still can't remember. But there's the full classification for you guys. My teammate Lewis Hamilton finished all the way down in 8th place. Unfortunately, of course, our pit stop problems definitely hampered Lewis Hamilton's progress. Lost him about 10 seconds or so, so think about that classification and add 10 seconds onto it. In the driver's standings, Red Bull, Daniel Ricciardo leads the way, followed by Max Verstappen and then myself. The driver's standings is basically the top 10 for Australia, so you don't really need to worry about that too much. In the constructors' standings, Red Bull take the lead, McLaren is second with myself, Mercedes in 3rd. Of course, McLaren getting a stronger amount of points than me and Lewis Hamilton combined. Hopefully we can try and work on trying to improve that for Bahrain. And as you can see, our resource points are stacking up then for the end of this race. If you did enjoy the race, drop a like, subscribe, join the around here. And as you can see in the rivalry again, it's a pointless rivalry. You don't need to ignore this one because Rosberg doesn't even participate, so we guarantee to win it. But as you can see, the driver position, we're actually in the red at the moment, which means that we're in a very bad state. But as you can see here, we go up and we're now into the green, which is very nice. We wanted to be in the green. We need to be there. And I believe we do make an upgrade, which is going to be our very first upgrade for Mercedes. So I'm looking forward to doing this one. We're going to be going with the fuel efficiency. Now, I want to be able to push in rich mix a lot more. And that was something I was able to do with my McLaren when I upgraded the fuel efficiency quite a lot from Singapore onwards. And I decided to go and do that one. So yeah, I'll see you guys for the next race in Bahrain. Take care. Peace.